What is up, you party people? I'm Schmook, and this is M Cubed. I hope everyone had a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday if you are in the States. It was a good, needed break. Had a good long weekend. Had Thursday and Friday off of work. Uh, but yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed their holiday because I know I did. Wednesday especially because that's a day where a lot of us folks, knowing that we're off the next day and having a nice dinner planned and having nothing else really in the agenda, we like to get a little rowdy on Wednesday nights, and that was a fun one, I'll tell you what. But yeah, we're back to my favorite day of the week. Time to talk comic book films or TV shows, and I don't think there's a whole bunch to discuss. I know these past few weeks we've had some very fun streams. Uh, where 2 weeks ago we went over Collider's MCU ranking, which is a dreadful list. And if you were able to catch if you were able to catch last week's episode, I did my own personal MCU ranking, and I thought it turned out quite well. We may not agree completely, but I will say I bet it's to a lot of people's minds a much better list than that Collider list because I know for one that list sucked. But anyway, we have some news. And I think we're just going to talk the last few episodes of Invincible because it was only 4 episodes, and now it's a mid-season break. My list is S tier compared to Colliders. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, like again, not everyone's gonna have the exact same list as me, but I feel like at least mine is in the same territory. I might have some more outlandish takes, but like at least it's understandable. I feel. But yeah, but we're gonna talk some Invincible because the last episode just dropped on Thursday. Not the last of the season, but now it's a mid-season break where they're not going to come back till January, and it's a very short season. There'll only be 8 episodes, and then you're doing a mid-season break. But I understand the thought process behind it because with the holidays, shows do get lost in that whole process because like the whole Christmas season is pretty gnarly. Uh, because I know for one, like some of my favorite shows would do these mid-season breaks. I know I would have no shot to be able to watch them when they were coming out, like The Walking Dead, for example, bunch of others. So I get it, but 4 episodes does not feel like enough. But what we got was pretty stellar. So I guess we can just talk about that right away, and then we'll talk about some news at the end because I think there's some big stuff to discuss, which I think we can talk about for a little while. So I think just talking some Invincible first will be the right way to go. But anyway, so I think I talked about the first episode, and then I haven't been caught up until actually today. So I missed episodes 2, 3, and 4. But so overall, I think episode 2 is okay. That's where there's like a graduation and whatnot. Like Mark's graduating from high school. There's not. I remember that episode being kind of lackluster overall, but there was some good stuff. And then episode 3, which I liked a lot more. 2 was probably my least favorite episode of the season because I thought 1 was a very strong start, just not like S tier Invincible, But but episode 3 I liked a lot because I like the whole Alan the Alien stuff. I've always loved Alan the Alien, but he dies, which sucks because I always loved him. I like that he has Invincible's back, right? But I like that episode. You also, you see Mark is in college, uh, and then he finally, he makes that sweet love to his girlfriend for the first time. It's like it's that fun conversation, right? Where it's like, oh, you're a superhero. Are you gonna crush me? Like, let me get on top, baby. So it's fun. I think that's some fun dialogue, and I like that whole back and forth between like him having some sexual engagement and then like Alan even having some uh, a sexual situation. So I thought it was fun, but it just sucks that immediately that Alan dies. Like I'm like, damn, we don't get enough of Alan in my opinion this whole show. And like, yeah, I agree with Harris. Like Alan the Alien definitely has, or Seth Rogen has, in some cases when I hear him like do some voiceover work, I'm like, oh, that's clearly Seth Rogen. And yes, it is clearly Seth Rogen in this, but I don't know. It sounds very natural to him to be an alien. I guess if that makes sense, because like when I hear him as Pumbaa, I guess I'm like, oh shit. But yeah, Rip Allen for now, because I mean, to be honest, like you can't have that gruesome of a death and expect like you would think he's dead, but they'll bring him back. They'll bring him back. But and then there's episode 4, or I guess the end of episode 3, where Mark has this alien be like, "Yo, I need, we've heard of you from across the galaxy. Like, uh, we're hearing the greatness of Invincible on Earth. And it's like I need you to save us from this meteor shower that's gonna wipe us out." And Mark's like, "All right, fuck it. I'm starting to build a reputation. I don't have to just protect Earth. I might be a galactic hero, not just intergalactic. Um, anyway, so he takes him to his home planet, whatever it's called. And we get there, and we see the man himself. We see Omni Man, and it's like, oh shit, okay, he's back, because we know he didn't die. He just disappeared. Then we get into the the newest episode, the last episode of this half season, where you see what happened to Omni Man, to Nolan, right? You're right, exactly. So we see him right after his fight with Mark. He flies out of the atmosphere, and he winds up on this different planet with a bunch of these bug creatures, right? And then we get a big ball drop almost immediately that he had a kid with one of these things, right? And he's like, Mark, like, he has nothing to do with this. The Viltrumites are coming, and they're going to kill us. Like, they're going to kill me. They're going to kill your brother. They're going to try to kill you too. And I care about these people. And I think that makes such a good dynamic, because Mark's obviously pissed, because it's like, where was this with my mother, who you claim to love and actually married, and then you meet this new woman and you have a child with her, but then you like the Viltrumites come and like wipe out a lot of them, if not all of them, and you're like, oh, what am I feeling? Like, he's feeling sad. He's feeling sad because he actually gives a damn about these creatures, and it's like Mark's just like, well, where the fuck were you? Where were these emotions, right? For me, for my mom, because I mean, obviously, no one loves Mark. He does. I think it's clear. Uh, but he's a very conflicted character overall, and I think it makes Omni Man a very interesting character to watch, because he's not like a Homelander, in my opinion. I don't see Omni Man as like inherently bad. He's just trying to do what was best for his home world and what his mission was, which was to like make Earth a place for them, right? But Omni Man, I like when comparing him to like Homelander. I think Homelander is clearly a bad guy. But what I like with this show is that it's like, oh, Nolan, you can feel for him a little bit. He's an alien who has to learn love, and that's what he's been doing over this whole time, right? And he's starting to feel it more with this new child that he has. It's interesting. It's interesting. But I like how now we have these the new clones again in this new episode. I like that whole like now we know who the original is and blah blah blah. I think that's a fun dynamic. And yeah, yeah. I mean, overall, I think Invincible was solid, solid. Overall, season 1 is hit more. I also find it weird how it's only 8 episodes. I feel like we haven't had that much in terms of story. Like, you're getting some stuff with all these different side characters, right? I don't know any of their names. I hate to say, because I'm only really truly interested in Mark's character and Omni Man, like what they have to go through. But Adam Eve's cool, and she has like this uh, weird relationship with her father. And then there's like the one dickhead who cheats on Adam Eve with the girl who can multiply herself with and there's that whole storyline how she cheated on him with the mortal. So that's cool. And then so yeah, I mean, like, these are, and then I do like the one character that was a robot or whatever, and now he's a young kid, and so he's very like socially awkward and whatnot, and also he's very naive, like uh I like the one moment where it's like, oh, this is your first movie. Oh, this is your first burger and fries and stuff. And it's like, oh, starting to enjoy what it is to be human, right? And I think that's a fun concept too. So I enjoy these characters, but again, I still think, and they're written well, and the story around them's good. I just really care mostly about the Mark storyline, because like also we go back to the first episode where it's involving the guy who can see into different realities and whatnot, and then now he comes out as like a kind of like a brainiac type of figure, you know. Yeah, Rudy Robot. Yeah, I agree. And Monster Girl. I agree. I really like both. I like both of them. Thank you, Harris. Those are just characters. Like, 'cause I should have rewatched season one before watching season two. Because, again, when that came out, that was what, like 2, 3 years ago, right? So it's like a lot of that got lost in my mind. I never read the comics either, so it's like I don't have that much of attachment to these characters. And then kind of jumping into season two, it's like, oh, okay. But I enjoy them all. But I lost my train of thought there with what I was saying before. But it is what it is. But overall, I think Invincible, it's dope. It's dope. I need to watch Gen V. I think I'm gonna try to do that. Rex and the Clone Girl. Oh, right. That's where I was kind of going with like I like their storyline. How he's just a, if Rex is the guy I'm thinking of, who was like with Adam Eve beforehand, and then with the one girl who multiplies, blah blah. But January can't come soon enough. If I'm being honest, because I mean I do enjoy the show quite a bit. I do think I need to watch Gen V. I've yet to do that yet. I might try to watch an episode or two tonight. I think I'm gonna try to do a Gen V episode for y'all next week, because I don't know how many of y'all have seen Gen V, but I hear it's very good, and I love the boys. Like the boys is a world that I really enjoy. It's not that I don't enjoy Invincible, but that's just more uh my forte. And yeah, you're right. You're right, Harris. Like the Grayson family was where I was at. Like, blah. But my mind's always all over the place. But yeah, I think that's the most. That to me, that's because the show's called Invincible. And I care to follow his storyline again. Yeah, because I was talking about the Brainiac guy, right? Or like he gets mutated in some way. And it's weird because we haven't seen him since the first episode. He was set up to be the big bad of the season, but then we kind of jump all over, and it's like, again, it's only an 8-episode season, and now we're at a mid-season break, and we only have 4 episodes left. So it's like, okay, I mean, yeah, they're long episodes. They're an hour long. But I just feel, and I feel like there's a lot of groundwork here. So maybe the second half is going to be mind blowing, which I believe will happen. But it's like, oh, they probably should have had one more scene with the guy. But then now we're also dealing with the Viltrumites and how Omni Man's going to be executed. And now um, how Mark is going to have to fulfill Nolan's mission to like make Earth habitable for them, right? And I think that's fun. But now it's like, oh, we're balancing a lot of different villain arcs now for this one season. It seems like, unless they're setting up a lot of stuff for future seasons. And I know they think the show's going to go for a while, but also it's like maybe you don't have to set it up like this, like with the first episode villain guy, like set him up like at the end of this season if he's going to be a season 3 villain, if you know what I'm saying. Because then this would have been pretty perfect in my opinion. But have I seen the Adam E special? No, no. I will do that. I will do that probably before the new season starts. Take a little sip for y'all. Ooh. But anyway, and if you're here watching, make sure to say hey in the chat. I want to know who's here. But yeah, I think we're going to go to some news because I think there's some fun stuff I want to discuss before I log out of here. But overall, if you've been holding off on saying on Invincible before I get into the news, I say watch it. I have 2 thumbs up for it. I'm gonna definitely check out Gen V as well, and I'll probably do a little bit of what I've enjoyed more in the superhero genre. What's up, David? Good to have you. Who's the more daunting villain? I mean, well, the Viltr, it's interesting, To me, it's like Angstrom Levy. I feel can be like Invincible's. I'm trying to find a good comparison here, Like I want to say Green Goblin or Joker, or let's or we'll say Doomsday, but the Viltrumites can, to me, I think they would be more of like a dark side slash Thanos type of villain, right? So it's different. I think one could turn, but it could be a flip flop because I mean, obviously the Viltrumites would probably be more personal to Mark, being that he is one, right? But they seem to give more of that greater threat. But I can see Angstrom being the more small scale, but still big scale. You get what I'm throwing down there, like in terms of like the development of Mark. So that's a hard question because again, I can see it one being small scale but still big, and then yes, I agree right there, Harris. I do think he would be like a Kang slash Brainiac, where I can see the Viltrumites being like Dark Side and like his army, right? You get what I'm saying there? So yeah, but they are spooky because that's the thing. They're very much so like if Kryptonians meet, uh, you know, like the Saiyans, right, from like Dragon Ball. I see them being that powerful, yet they are completely terrifying, and they're just very, I want to say very egotistical because I see them being very much so our way or the highway. So that can be terrifying. Because at least with like certain villains, like a Thanos, for example, I think less of it was more ego and more just like, listen, like I am being very logical here. Like this is what makes sense to make this universe last. So I think that's a fun comparison to make. All right, guys, but yeah, definitely watch Invincible season 2. Oh my goodness, Harris is just firing on all cylinders. I like this. I like this. That's the Omni Man versus Homelander versus Bizarro versus Goku. Well, Goku, I think Goku beats anyone and everyone. I think I would prefer Superman to be in that, or just keep Bizarro and get rid of Goku because I think Goku just ruins everyone. But I would take Omni Man over Homelander and Bizarro. I think Omni Man would beat Bizarro, but I don't know if he would beat Superman. That's a tough question though, because again, obviously Homelander is super powerful and has better powers, like like obviously laser vision and stuff. Same with Bizarro, but Omni Man, he's near invincible, right? And he's super fast, super strong. I think he's stronger than both those characters, and he has a better healing factor overall. So I'm gonna take Omni Man. Goku wrecks all of them with a blink of an eye, in my opinion. But yeah, that's gonna be my answer there. But yeah, watch season 2 of Invincible. I think it's a great show. Uh, but yeah, I guess it's technically the best show I'm watching currently now that Loki's done. So, but hopefully I'll watch Gen V, and hopefully by next week we'll see. Might have to do something else for next week if I have enough time, but we'll see. So in terms of news, we had some fun stuff over this past week. I know in last week's episode, Harris let me know that Nicholas Hoult was cast as Lex Luthor, which I think is pretty good casting. I really think that'll turn out to be really, really good. Because I could definitely see him with the bald head and be a complete menace. I could even see him putting on a few pounds like a muscle. And I think that'd be a fun Lex to see in this. Apparently, James Gunn is looking into Stephen A. Smith, who's a sports analyst for the movie, and he could be a Perry, which I think would be interesting. I always like the idea of him because he could easily be that like fun, loud, dickhead newspaper editor like a J. Jonah Jameson. I think that would work. I like the same idea for Ice Cube. I would have loved, frankly, Ice Cube to be the MCU's J. Jonah Jameson. I thought that would have been a fun cast. But of course, like I think J.K. Simmons kind of locked it down that he's meant for that role. Frankly, even like with Omni Man, you know. But so I think if you can get Stephen A. Smith or Ice Cube, I think those would be similar. I would probably rather go the Ice Cube route because he has more acting experience than Stephen A. Smith. But if you get Stephen A. Smith to be Perry, then I think that's fine. I think that's not bad casting whatsoever because I think you could easily fit in that role. This I don't know how reliable this information is. Oh, excuse me, but there's some rumors of what the MCU is, what are currently in development right now, right? So, well, for starters, we got Agatha uh, and the Darkhold Diaries. I believe that's the final name they're calling it now. Because they had like three other names for it, right? But we're getting some stuff on set coming out for it, which is whatever. I'm not that interested in it, but I think they're doing the right thing with the idea of doing these Halloween specials each year. Because they did Werewolf by Night last year, and then they did it in color this year, which is fine. But I guess Agatha will fill that next year, and then maybe the year after that, that's where we get Ghost Rider finally. I think that'd be cool to be a Halloween special. Or hopefully you can get Blade to come out in October, and that can fill their Halloween special for 2025. But I think Ghost Rider needs to be like what they did with Werewolf by Night being a special presentation, because I think that makes the most sense. But to have a Ghost Rider special presentation and Blade come out in the same month would be hype, and both lead into a Midnight Suns that could come out in 2026. And of course, Agatha and all that can be a part of it, and that could be the Halloween special, or even feature length film in 2026. So I think that'd be cool. So there's that. Harris, I think those are my two guys I want the most to be Johnny. I think those two would absolutely murder it as Johnny Blaze. But I mean, of course, they can always cast someone else. As long as he kind of has like a kind of a gritty look, and I think it would work. But I like Norman Reedus the most. I think he is the perfect fan cast to be him. Because I mean, I think one, he's a very strong actor, but I don't think he's the strongest actor in the world. But also, you don't need to have Ghost Rider be the strongest character or the strongest actor in general. For like a solo movie, yeah. But in most cases, you're gonna have Ghost Rider be Ghost Rider, so it doesn't really matter. You just need someone to be a voice for him, So I don't, and I think Norman Reedus would have a good voice for Ghost Rider. Yes, so I agree. I think since Marvel announced the Marvel Spotlight, I think that's what Ghost Rider would fit into, and same with Midnight Suns. Blade will probably be more still mostly connected to the MCU due to like Black Knight probably being there, but who knows? I think Midnight Suns that could just be a quick 1 hour thing that'll fill in the Marvel Spotlight. It will be like a 4 episode miniseries that they would consider a Marvel Spotlight, like what they're doing with Echo. I think that's 5 episodes. So I can see that happening for Midnight Suns, even though I'd love to see that as a movie, but I think it would maybe work best as a show. And Ghost Rider would work best as a presentation, less so like a 1 episode dealio. Uh, Basically, like what Werewolf by Night was, right? And then you could have Midnight Suns be like 4 or 5 of those presentations as a show, and then that's it. And then if people like it enough, well, for starters, they could come into the Avengers movies, or or eventually you can do a feature-length film. But we'll see. See, what are you saying here, David? Okay, so you don't like the Nicholas Hoult casting, huh? Well, see, I'm one who really enjoyed the. I was a huge fan of Jesse Eisenberg. I think what he brought to the character was like, yeah, he's very like squirrely, right? But and jittery, but like what he brings to the terms of like to like I want to say theological, but also like philosophical standpoint of like what it means to be like, oh, I am a weak but powerful man who can even hold something against the most powerful man alive in Superman. I think that's a fun concept. And then like where he can be like staring Batman down, he's like, listen, I'm not scared of you because what's coming is worse than you. And it's like, okay, that's sick. To me. I just thought he had a ton, like just the one he had one conversation on the rooftop. It was to Lois. He had some good stuff to say, and he had some good stuff to say to Superman as well. So I think Jesse Eisenberg gets a lot of shit, but that's just me. Okay, that's fair. Maybe you just didn't like the performance, Harris. But I think the performance was good enough. Uh, But I think no matter what, I think the writing was phenomenal with his character. Because, of course, I don't think Chris Terrio misses when he's actually able to do his job, which we weren't able to see with The Rise of Skywalker or with Justice League originally. So there you go. But let's see. So we also get a Doctor Strange 3 being in development, which I think I'm excited for. I think that'll come out before the Avengers movies. So I think that Shang-Chi 2, Spider-Man 4, those are considered, and Fantastic Four, are all four movies that are going to come out before the next Avengers movie. Apparently, they're all going to play a big role into like what leads into the Avengers movie, which is sick. And then apparently, well, of course, Daniel Destin Creighton, or however you pronounce his name, is directing Shang-Chi 2, and he's probably going to take a lot of what he was going to put into Kang Dynasty into that and like make a full push towards what's gonna like come with the Kang Dynasty, which I'm excited for. And then let's see what else. So apparently there might be a Scarlet Witch movie, which is a solo movie, which is interesting. I don't know if that's gonna happen, but we'll see. We'll see. And then there's Black Panther 3, which I believe could come out before the Avengers movie, where this is where multiversal shit is happening. This is where you get a T'Challa from a different universe, and it can make a cool like, oh, there's a T'Challa here, but it's not our T'Challa. And then there's Shuri, who is our Black Panther. So that can make some for an interesting dynamic and like who do we side with type of scenario, where they're gonna have to come together and be like, oh, we're both Black Panther. You know what I'm saying? So that's the idea. Or that movie comes out after these Avengers movies, and that's where you just have a full, like a Shuri could die, for example, and then you bring in the multiversal T'Challa to be the king, right? So we'll see. We'll see what can happen there. And then let's see. Oh, and the biggest news that happened today, and this is probably where I'm going to leave off, but we have Michael Waldron. He is officially writing the Kang Dynasty as well as Secret Wars. He's gonna be writing both the Avengers movies, and I think that's perfect because he wrote Multiverse of Madness, which I think is a very solid script in terms of dealing with the multiverse and like the character of Strange and like other characters we see. And he wrote Loki, and that's also like, oh, one of the best content we've got from Marvel post Endgame, right? So I have a lot of faith in Michael Waldron. I think basically with all that's been happening behind the scenes, they just got rid of Jeff Loveness, and they want Daniel just to focus primarily on Shang-Chi 2 and get someone else to helm both Avengers movies so they have a similar vibe and feel, like same with Infinity War and Endgame. So it was probably going to be Daniel, and he probably wasn't going to do Secret Wars. He would have gone someone else, and like the tone and vibe could be a little off. So they might just want to get one director to do both, and they'll probably film them back to back, Lord of the Rings style, you know. So I'm very excited for this because I think Michael Waldron, he understands these characters very well. I learned that specifically with Loki. And then when I saw Doctor Strange 2, I'm like, oh, yeah, this is pure Doctor Strange goodness here. So this guy is obviously a fan. Feige loves him because he knows he's a nerd because he wanted him to be the writer on a Star Wars project, which is no longer happening, but it might happen all together because he might bring him with him whenever he decides to move to Star Wars when Kathleen Kennedy gets the boot, but who knows? Uh, but I'm excited for the future of Marvel. The project I'm most excited for, that's not counting uh, Secret Wars or Kang Dynasty, is. So I'm excited for Doctor Strange 3 because I loved Multiverse of Madness, but I'm curious what they do. It'd obviously be Doctor Strange and Clea going through, like, trying to solve or fix the incursions that are happening. I'm excited for Shang-Chi 2 because I feel like it's going to have a huge tie-in to the Kang Dynasty, and I love the first movie. I'm excited. I'm not super excited for this supposedly Scarlet Witch movie because I like the character, but I think she's a perfect side character that could be a main character in a movie, you know, like what we saw in Multiverse of Madness. But I don't think she needs to be the lead character because I liked WandaVision, don't get me wrong. But like she got her time in like the spotlight and she was the villain of Multiverse of Madness. I don't think she needs a solo project, just a Scarlet Witch movie, which I think is what they're doing. But what I can see them doing is like you can do House of M stuff, and that could be the next Avengers movies after Secret Wars, where you have to deal with the Scarlet Witch and the House of M, and like it's Avengers versus X Men and stuff like that, right? And that's where I can see her being the main character. But we'll see what they do with that. And then, of course, I'm excited for Deadpool 3. Like, but that's a movie we actually know's coming and happening because they're filming it right now. It comes out next July. But I'm excited for that in terms of multiversal goodness. You get Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman as two of the best casted comic book characters, you know, with those two playing Wolverine and Deadpool. So I'm excited for that. Of course, we're probably going to see a bunch of these old Fox Universe actors as their characters and potentially some MCU goodness because, of course, it's Deadpool and a lot of these X-Men characters coming into the MCU. So I think we're going to get a lot of awesome stuff there. And of course, finally, I'm excited for Spider-Man 4, where apparently it seems like it's going to go more in the multiversal route because there's a lot of rumors of Tobey Maguire being back and how it's supposed to merge with like the Sony universe and stuff like that. Where it's supposed to all come together and all be under one roof under Feige's rule. So that's exciting. What makes me a little sad is that it's not going to be this more grounded film with like Daredevil and Kingpin, but it might be that for at least like a quarter of it or a half of it, where a lot of the stuff that gets built up in Daredevil Born Again, it could just get brought in and finished with the Spider-Man movie, maybe, or they just hold off on that until Spider-Man 5 after the whole Avengers Secret Wars stuff, and then like maybe the symbiotes in that, and then you can have symbiote Peter dealing with Kingpin, and I think that could be fun. And then like Daredevil can be like this moral character in Peter's life with dealing with this symbiote. So we'll see. I'm curious what they do with Spider-Man 4. But all right, guys, I think that might do it here today. I had an awesome time talking to y'all. I'm going to try my best to watch and finish Gen V by next week. But if not, I'll find something for us to talk about. And of course, I'm sure there'll be some sort of news that drops because I feel like something drops almost every day that we can talk about. But all right, guys, had a great stream. Love you guys, and I will catch you very soon. Bye bye.